Welcome back, my lovely witches and wise ones, to another episode of Raven's Ramblings. I'm your host, Raven. Thank y'all for joining me again. This is episode 10. Can you believe it? 10 weeks I've been doing this. Loving every second of it. And every time I see that my listening numbers have gone up on Spotify, it makes me so happy and giggle, and I have to show my wife and she thinks I'm crazy. But back to what we're doing here. Today, we're going to kick off something a little bit different, a little bit special, I think, anyway. We're going to start a brand new series. This is going to be a review of the Wheel of the Year. So, whether you're a seasoned pagan or just a baby witch learning the ropes, this series hopefully will walk you through the 8 major Sabbats and the sacred seasonal holidays that mark the different changing rhythms of the earth and the sky and the spirit. So grab your coffee or your tea, light a candle, and let's turn the wheel together. Okay? Cool. So what is the Wheel of the Year? I'm so glad you asked. The Wheel of the Year is a modern pagan calendar that is based upon ancient seasonal festivals. All right. That's how they kind of march different time frames in the ancient times. In the olden days, they followed the sun, followed the seasons, that kind of stuff. So they kind of followed the cycle of the earth around the sun, marking different key points of change. So that's going to be like your solstices, the equinoxes. It depends on where you're from, I guess. And the cross quarter days that are kind of in between. So the 8 Sabbats are, we're going to start with Yule, because that's what's at the top of my wheel. That's our winter solstice. That occurs around December 21st. So usually they say between December 20th and December 22nd. So I usually split the difference and go with December 21st. It's usually also the first day of winter for the mundane type stuff. After Yule, we have Imbolc, which is the beginning of February. So February 1st or 2nd. From there, we start moving into our spring, which is Ostara, the spring equinox, March 20th through the 22nd. This one always sticks to me because my anniversary is on the 20th of March, so I always remember that one, which of course coincides with the first day of spring. After that, we start moving into the warmer stuff. So Beltane is on May 1st. A couple of episodes ago, I did an episode on just Beltane, and it was just kind of a gloss over. It wasn't super in depth. So once we get through this series, it will be way more in depth than that. So May 1st is Beltane. After that is Litha, which is the summer solstice, or the first day of summer, usually between June 20th and June 22nd. Then we have Lammas, because I can never say the other word, Lunasad. I just go with Lammas because it's just easier for me. That is on August 1st, so that's one of those in-between harvest types things. After that, we start moving into the fall season. So we've got Mabon, which is the fall equinox, September 21st through the 23rd. I like that one too. I like all the reds and oranges and stuff that come with that. And then we have the Witch's New Year, which is Samhain, or Samhain, or Samhain, or Samhain, or Samhain, or however you want to pronounce it. I prefer Samhain. Some others pronounce it differently. That is on October 31st, Halloween for the mundanes. Yeah. So each of the Sabbats celebrate a different type of energy. They're going to celebrate different things like growth and harvest, the death, the rebirth, truly like spokes on a wheel. You know, it is constantly turning. The wheel is constantly going. The year is constantly going and changing. So these aren't just holidays. These are moments that we can take to align ourselves more with nature's cycles. All right, because in the past, that's what we did as Homo sapiens. We aligned ourselves with the seasons. We don't do that as much now because, well, we have technology, electricity, all that kind of stuff, and we don't have to worry about harvest season most of the time. So, well, except for us country folk that grew up, with gardens and stuff, we kind of followed a little bit, even though it wasn't pagan in my family, but still. Anyway, so why do we follow the wheel? We follow the wheel because it kind of gives us a little bit of structure to our practice, and it deepens the connections that we have with the world around us, or it does for me anyway. But that's the purpose of it, marking these days and celebrating these days. It reconnects you to what our ancestors did. So doing this and following the wheel, you're going to start to notice things like the way the light changes as the season changes, how the trees change and respond to things, when the birds come back in the spring. And you're going to honor those different shifts with magic and ritual and reflection. So you're really truly thinking of it as a witch's calendar. It's a spiritual check-in that keeps us grounded in the present. In the present, get my words together. Grounded in the present, but still honoring the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Okay, because truly that's what happens. The earth dies in the winter and comes back in the spring. So this series, it's going to be long. I mean, there's eight holidays here, so it's going to be 2 months long. But I really am excited about it because there's a lot of stuff we're going to focus on. So we're going to focus on one Sabbath at a time. So each week will be a different one. We're going to explore the origins and mythology of each one, seasonal and magical themes, common rituals, crafts, spells, the different foods and herbs and crystals that correspond with each of these holidays, and different ways to celebrate, whether you're a solo practitioner or solitary like myself, or you're in a circle of some kind or a coven, or in a more official capacity. Official? That's not really the word I want there, but in a group, you're practicing in a group setting. Because those tend to be a little more formal, like I've talked about before, with that high magic and stuff. And they're going to celebrate differently than I am as a solitary. So, starting with the top of my wheel, we're going to start with Yule. Okay, I know it's end of May, early June right now, so thinking about Yule is kind of, but we'll replay these as the holidays actually come up on us also. So, beginning with Yule, the winter solstice. It's where the longest night happens before giving birth to the light. So, every day past Yule is a little bit longer daylight-wise. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about some evergreen magic, different sun rebirth rituals, and why do witches love decorating trees? That's right. Your Christmas tree that your Aunt Susie has? Pagan. So, if you want to travel through the seasons with me in a sacred style, hit that follow button on Spotify while you're listening. And, let's go on this journey together and mark your calendars with it. Okay? So, we're going to go ahead and dive right in and get going with this series. The first thing we're going to start going over is Yule. This is our first spoke of the wheel of the year. So we have been celebrating the return of the sun for centuries. Okay, and that usually starts around December 21st, marking the winter solstice. It is the longest night of the year. It is the point where the sun is reborn. So our days start to get a little bit longer. Now, you don't really notice it as much those first few days because it's just a minute here, a minute there, Anyway, but they start to get longer, so the light is returning. So even in the darkest cold, winter is usually the roughest time for people, but Yule reminds us that the light always comes back, no matter what. So historically, Yule has roots in Norse and Germanic tradition. This was a time for feasting, honoring the gods, celebrating the return of the sun, that kind of stuff. All that sound familiar? Yes. And here's why. That's because a lot of modern Christmas traditions are straight up borrowed from old Yule rites. That's right. Witches totally had evergreen trees, candles, gift giving, all that good stuff long before Santa ever came along in modern pop culture and stuff. Witches did it first. Pagans did it first. So once again, remember, tell Aunt Sally that Christmas tree? We know where that came from. All right, so themes of Yule. Yule is a time of rebirth and renewal. I like to kind of reset my intentions, even though it's at the end of the year. It's also a time for rest and reflection. So take that time and reflect on what happened that year. What things were good, what things were bad, what things you want to change. Okay? Hope and light in the darkness. That is what is another theme of this. So even though it's dark and usually cold and drizzly and everybody hates it except me because I have the opposite seasonal depression. I get depressed in the summer and I love the winter. But it reminds people that there is hope and light no matter how crappy it is out there. So spiritually, it is a moment to kind of rest and reflect on the past year, set those quiet intentions for the year coming up, because Gregorian calendar starts January 1st, which is just a little bit after Yule. So you kind of think of this as like a magical pause between that death and that rebirth. So we're going to gather around a fire, even if it's just a candle fire. It doesn't have to be a huge bonfire. It doesn't have to be this massive fireplace roaring. I mean, that's lovely. I mean, I have a fireplace. I have never burned anything in it because that's just too much mess for me. So we're going to gather around some type of fire and whisper dreams to the returning sun. Okay? Because like I said, this is the rebirth. This is the sun coming back. So different symbols and correspondences. So if you want to add a little extra Yule magic like to your altar or to your spell work or just to your home. And a lot of these things you may already have done without even realizing because they are very Christmassy. And the majority of Americans have celebrated Christmas most of our lives. So anyway, colors. Deep greens and reds and golds, whites and silvers. See, you already have all this stuff. Different herbs that you want to kind of have around. Pine, duh, right? Cinnamon. Everybody loves those cinnamon brooms that come around Christmas time. Oh, I love them. I can't have one because my wife hates cinnamon. I know, it's just... I can't even with her sometimes. Clove, bay, holly, of course, and then, of course, mistletoe. Everybody loves a little mistletoe. So these are things that even modern Christianity use. So you can pick these things up starting, honestly, around here, usually about August, we start seeing Christmas stuff go up. I know, it's ridiculous. But these are things you can get pretty much anywhere. So you don't have to special order them from a metaphysical shop that may not be in your hometown because you live in the Bible Belt. These are just things you can pick up at Walmart or Target or wherever. So some different crystals that kind of go with the season. Garnet, lovely, lovely red. Clear quartz because, well, I mean, it goes with everything. Ruby, my birthstone personally. And then the snowflake obsidian, which is, Just stunning. Look that up. It's beautiful. Different symbols that we use. Evergreens, once again, Christmas tree, the Yule log, and some people actually decorate a log with different candles, waxes, holly leaves, those kinds of things, and burn those. And that's amazing. A lot of us don't do that because that's a lot. I have burned like a little tiny Yule stick, I guess. I considered it a log. I cut it down a little bit and put little things on it, but it was only about 4 or 5 inches long. And that was my Yule log one year. So, where was I? Oh, yes, the Yule log is one of the symbols. The sun, candles, wreaths, that kind of stuff. Once again, all these things you probably already have. Different deities that are celebrated and focused on around this time are the Holly King and the Oak King, which we'll talk about that later on. Odin, Freya, and then the reborn sun, because this is the rebirth of the sun. It is coming back to us and bringing things back alive with it. So, different ways to celebrate Yule, whether you go full on hardcore high magic coven, or you do something low key and cozy like what I do. I just do simple stuff because it's just me most of the time. So here's some different celebration ideas. You can burn a Yule log, like what I just told you about. Traditionally, it is an oak log decorated with dried herbs and carved symbols, and people put different sigils or write little intentions on pieces of paper and stick that to it and burn that to symbolize the light's return, right? And that's amazing if you can do something large like that. You don't have a fireplace, you don't have a fire pit, a candle works just as good, all right? You do what works for you. I have told you that from the beginning. Please believe me. Do what works for you. It is your magic. All right. So the next thing that we can use to celebrate is decorating an evergreen tree. Yep. This one is ours. So add natural decorations to that Christmas tree that you've got up in the attic, like some dried oranges, some cinnamon sticks, pine cones, different little magical symbols, whatever. Bless it as a beacon of life during the dark. Now, if you can do a real evergreen tree, fabulous. Do it. Make sure you keep it watered. We don't want any fire hazards. Okay? Now, me personally, I have an artificial tree. Why? Well, because I'm a busy witch who has a lot of crap going on, and sweeping up pine needles is not real high on my priorities. And that's fine. You have a little bitty tiny tree you put on your desk? Fabulous. Love it. Do you, baby. Do you. Don't worry about nobody else. You do you. Now, another thing we can do is create a sun candle spell. Now, how you would do that is you would anoint a gold or yellow candle, because sun, anoint it with some cinnamon oil. Carve like a sun symbol on it. Light it on that solstice night and whisper your intentions for the year to come. See? Super, super easy. Not only could that be your sun candle spell, that could also be what you used for your Yule log. See? Not a big deal. You got this. I believe in you. A lot of people do a feast kind of thing. So they make a winter solstice meal. Now, a lot of us who, once again, grew up in the Christian church, you had Christmas dinner with everybody. Well, you can do pretty much the same thing. You're going to feast like that with intention. So you're going to cook those warm and hearty foods, those good home-cooked foods, and honor the cycles of death and rebirth. Now, the little extra that you can do is leave a little offering for the fae. Just throw it, and great grandma ain't got to know why you're putting a biscuit outside. Doesn't matter. It's fine. Do you? A lot of people also do a year-end release ritual. So what that really entails is, we talked about the rest and reflection over that past year. Those things that you don't want to bring into the new year, we're going to let those go. So you're going to write those down, whatever it is you're trying to let go of or get past, and then you're going to burn it. Burn it safely, once again. Now, that's really hard to do in a lot of places because a lot of people live in apartments and things like that. If you can't burn it, it's okay. All right? Sometimes that's just not feasible. Rip it up into tiny little pieces and scatter it somewhere. Make sure it's like compostable, that kind of stuff. We don't want to mess up the environment, but yeah. Write it on, get you a felt marker, write it on toilet paper. Tear that up and flush it. See? Super simple. Sometimes we got to work a different system for whatever we need to work with. So you're going to release that stuff, though, into the dark, but with gratitude and making space for what's to come in the new year. Cool? Sound good? I really like this toilet paper idea. I've done something similar, but I've not completely done the toilet paper one, but that would be a super easy one for a lot of people to do. Everybody's got a toilet. If you don't, well, write it on a piece of toilet paper from Walmart while you're in there shopping and flush it down there. Then it completely gets it out of your house. But anyway, reflection. We're going to go on to our next section. Reflection. Yule teaches us that even during the coldest and the darkest nights, and just that it seems like it's just endless dreariness, light is still stirring beneath the surface. It is a time to be gentle with ourselves. As people, we are super, super critical of ourselves. We are just harsh to our own person. And this is a time to let that kind of stuff go. Be gentle with yourself. Rest. Honor that darkness, and then look toward the hope. Give yourself permission to pause and rest. Just take those moments, light a candle, or do like I have. I have a bunch of electric candles that I have on a remote, and to kind of bring myself down, I turn all the lights off, I hit my little remote, and all my little candles light up, and I don't have to worry about burning the house down. Because I don't know about y'all, but I will forget that shit if it's a real candle, and that's not good. So light that candle, sip on some wine or tea, and just let yourself relax and dream. All right? The sun is coming back. It is being reborn, and so is the spark inside you. Nice, right? I think it's nice. So I personally love Yule in the winter time. Like I said, my seasonal depression happens during the summer, and I come alive like a weird little poinsettia, I guess, in the winter time, because I cannot stand the heat. And the older I get, the worse it gets. But it is a time of death and rebirth, and we need to honor that in whatever ways we can and whatever makes sense to us. Right? Be gentle with yourselves. Even outside of Yule, be gentle with yourself. You are amazing, and I appreciate you. So, that's it for today. I know this one was kind of a little bit hectic, but I'm trying to get my brain about me. I'm trying to redo my brain and reclaim some shit. So, we're working on it. So join me next time. We're going to move forward with the Wheel of the Year to Imbolc, which is the Firelit Festival of early spring and the Sacred Spark. Hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. Share it with your friends, your coven, your cat, your candle collection, whatever. Don't forget, Raven's Ramblings is on Spotify. That's probably where you're listening. Hit that follow button. Hit the follow. Please, just hit the follow button. It makes me grin like a crazy person every time I get a new listen or a new follow. So I appreciate it. Visit me on Facebook. find me on Instagram. Drop me a line. Let me know what y'all are thinking about the podcast. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you wish I would do something different? I'm just out here raw dogging it and trying to figure shit out on my own. Feedback is fabulous. I love it. Good, bad, whatever. So, that's it. I'm going to leave y'all alone for the rest of the night. I do. I really appreciate y'all. Y'all have, once again, been my therapy. So, until next time, happy early Yule. Bye.